People in Canada had very strong ties, and people are adverse to change. And so this talk of, the flag is a symbol of the country. It had been the red ensign, which was linked to Britain, had Union Jack on it, had been Canada's flag more or less informally since the 1920s, and then sort of more formally after the 1940s. And I think people believe that changing it was somehow going against Canadian tradition and history, and that makes people very nervous. That would be the main reason, I think. John Diefenbaker, and it was the Progressive Conservative opposition leader. He didn't want a flag. He was pro-Red Ensign. He sided with the veterans in the country as well. So he made life miserable for Pearson. But when the government started debating that there should be a new flag, there was a committee formed by the Lester Pearson's Liberal minority government, headed by a guy named John Matheson, an MP who had some experience in symbols. So he decided to open up this competition. And of course, when you ask people for an opinion about something, they're going to give it to you, even back then, before social media and the internet and so forth. And so people flooded in with ideas. Most of them, to be honest, there were all sorts of crazy ideas. Fleur-de-lis, beavers, bears, maple leafs in all its various manifestations, and combinations thereof. Some had the Union Jack, some had combinations of fleur-de-lis, maple leafs, and beavers and bears, and every possible other Canadian symbol. So some of them were more professionally designed. Some looked like painting, crayon-colored things that kids had done. But in the end, there were really only two possible choices. Pearson had designed, when he initially introduced the idea, he and other people had come up with this tricolor red maple leaf in the middle with two vertical blue bars, and this was caustically referred to as the Pearson pennant, which he really did not like. Over time, Matheson had also consulted with historian G.F. Stanley, and he advised something a little different, which is essentially what we have today, the red and white maple leaf. He thought that was a better, more simple kind of design, and that's ultimately was chosen by the committee. We tend to forget about the British connection and that emotional attachment that people had, because it's so natural now that Canada's flag, we cheer it on. Generations of university students have sewn it on their backpacks across Europe and so forth, and we cheer the Olympics, and no one thinks twice about it. At the time, I guess it was seen as something new, and as I said, Canada was coming of age, and that's how it was perceived. It was, I think, the kind of emotional opposition to it died down fairly quickly, and people accepted it. By the time they rose at the flag-raising ceremony in February 1965, I think most people were fine and soon became quite proud of Canada's new symbol.